starting out with NuWave Oven Recipes. I'm going to show you how to cook up a beef brisket in the NuWave oven. So I've got a beef brisket flat, it's about 5 pounds, and I'm going to be cooking that up in the NuWave oven. And this is the night before, because to make a real good beef brisket, you start prepping the night before. So I'm going to show you every step of the way so that you know how to cook up your own juicy beef brisket in the NuWave oven. So going to get started showing you now. Okay, so quite a few ingredients for the start of this. I've got my beef brisket flat. It is about 4.75 pounds, almost 5 pounds. I've got 1 cup of beef broth, and this is going to be using an injection. I'm basically going to be injecting this tonight. So there is a cup of beef broth, an ounce of apple cider vinegar. There's an ounce, actually there's 2 ounces of apple cider vinegar. So it's a 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. There's an ounce of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 tablespoon of steak seasoning. This is McCormick Grill Mates Montreal steak seasoning. And I've got just a 1/4 teaspoon of my hickory smoked sea salt there. I'm also going to be using that steak seasoning and salt, the smoked salt, as a rub on this brisket here tonight as well. So first I'm going to get this unpacked, and then going to start going through the rest of the preparation process of this beef brisket for the NuWave oven. Okay, I've slid some of my injection ingredients and rubs to the side for a moment, because to start I need to trim the fat on this beef brisket now that it's out of its cryo bag. What I'm going to do, I'm going to trim some of the fat and silver skin that I see on the front side here. And then over on this fat cap side, I'm going to trim this fat cap down to about 1/8 of an inch, about as nearly close as I can get it, while still having a little fat cap to having to cook. So I'm going to go ahead and trim it up. Okay, so I've cut that fat off. I'm going to show you the meat side. I've cut off most of the fat that was on the meat side, any excess. There's a little bit of, just a little bit of silver skin there, but I don't think it's really the thick, tough kind of silver skin that'll cause problems. Don't want to cut into my meat there. On the fat cap side, I've cut down the fat cap real close, like I mentioned, to like maybe 1/8 of an inch in some areas. The fat cap, the portions of the fat cap that I've left, I'm scoring a waffle pattern. This will help me get some seasoning in there on that fat cap side. So just gonna continue scoring it to make a waffle type of pattern in it. Sorry about that banging there. Banging sound. Alright, now that I've got it all scored there, what I'm going to do on this meat side, I'm going to start putting my rub all over this meat side. My rub is going to be my steak rub and my smoked salt. So I'm going to start sprinkling that on this meat side now. Okay, so to start, just getting the rub on the meat side of this beef brisket flat. I'm just gonna sprinkle my smoked salt in all over the top of it. I'm not putting a heavy amount, I'm just sprinkling it because there's going to be plenty of salt in the rub as well. So basically with beef, to season it well, you have to use some salt-based seasonings to bring out that flavor in the meat. So just put that on there. Now I'm just going to take my Montreal salt seasoning and I'll shake that on a bit more liberally across the beef brisket. Okay, so I've got my seasonings all on the meat side. Now I'm going to flip this beef brisket over. and I'm going to start getting my injection fluids together. So I'm going to take that beef broth, pour it over here into this bowl, and take my apple cider vinegar, do the same. I'm going to get this injection needle out of the way for now. Pour my Worcestershire sauce, also my beef rub, and my hickory smoked salt. Make sure I get all of that. I'm just going to whisk that together so that it's well mixed together. Okay, I've got my injection fluid all mixed together good. If you desire, you could strain the fluid through a coffee strainer with the rub on top so that the thicker parts of the rub don't get into your injection needle, if that's your choice. So I'm going to go ahead and start filling up my injection needle with fluid. I'm going to start injecting this brisket with my injection fluid. You have to be careful when you're injecting because fluid might shoot out. You don't want to squirt too fast, and you just got to be cautious as you're sticking that needle in and you're squirting in that fluid. You'll see that meat kind of puff up just a little bit, and I'm basically going to do this just all over all areas of the meat, just try and exhaust my injection fluid all throughout this beef brisket. Alright, I've got the injection fluid injected into the beef brisket. Now I'm just going to do like I did on the meat side. I'm going to just get some of my hickory smoked salt over the back of this beef brisket flat, and then I'll just put some of my, shake some more of my steak rub on it. So shake it on the steak rub. Okay, so got my rub all over the backside, and that's basically it for the night before prep. I'm going to cover this up with some foil, put it in the refrigerator, let it set overnight, and then in the morning I'll start to cook in the NuWave oven. Okay, so it's been overnight. Our beef brisket flat's been in the refrigerator, and I took it out a little less than an hour ago. I took it out of the refrigerator. You want it to set out, 30 minutes to an hour to kind of warm up a little bit so that you're not cooking it at cold refrigerator temperature. I will point out, this being a brisket flat, there are two parts to a beef brisket, what they call a whole packer brisket. There's the flat, which is this lean part. There's also another part called the point, which is a fattier part. Those run like 18, 20 pounds or more, and so a whole packer brisket would be far too large to fit on a NuWave oven, but a brisket flat, you can find a nice 5-pounder, then that'll fit just fine. And some stores, they might sell 8 and 10 pound brisket flats that might not fit, but you'll have to look till you find a nice 5-pound size one. And the brisket comes from the chest area of the cow, so it's a tough meat, and you got to cook it slow and low to break it down. So that's what we're going to be doing with the NuWave oven. I've got it with the fat cap side up. I'm going to be setting that side up in the NuWave oven on the 1-inch rack so that that fat is rendering down and able to catch that heat and protect the rest of the meat most of the cook. I'm not going to have it fat side up the entire cook though, but I'll show you what I'll be doing with it as we go further into it. But for now, I'm going to set this beef brisket over on the NuWave oven on that 1-inch rack. Just trying to position it so that I'll be able to get my extender ring in place. Here's my extender ring. And actually, before I put on my extender ring, I need to put in my meat probe. So let me take a moment to get my iGrill 2 meat probe in. Just going to take that, set it around here. You want to find a nice fatty part of the meat, and this way I'll be able to track the temperature the entire cook with this meat probe in. Alright, got that meat probe in real good. Now I'm going to put my extender ring on. Alright, that's good there. So we can see our meat just to start out, it's in like the 50-degree range or so. It's still kind of cool, even though it's been setting out a while. Now I'm going to put my dome on the NuWave oven, and now I'm going to hit a cook time, and I don't really know how long this will take. I cook it till it's done. So basically I'm going to start out with just like 9 hours, and I'm going to do a power level, and this is the important part, power level 6. That's 250 degrees Fahrenheit, power level 6 or P60. So with 250 degrees Fahrenheit, and I've got the extender ring, it gives it a less direct heat pressing right down on it. Don't want to cook it too fast or it'd be tough. So I'm going to go ahead and start that, and I'll bring you back. I'm going to let this cook until the meat temperature is about 110 degrees. I'll bring you back and we'll do some more steps then. Alright, so not even an hour has passed, 50 minutes have passed. The meat temperature is already 124 degrees. So this meat is getting hot too fast for a brisket, in my opinion. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to hit pause, clear to stop that. I'm going to bring the temp down a bit. I'm going to do a cook time. I'm going to put it back at that 9 hours, even though I know it's not going to take that long. Change power level to 5, which is 225 degrees, which is your classic slow and low cooking temperature. Got my extender ring on, and going to go ahead and start with that. So now we're rolling at 225 with our extender ring and our beef brisket already meat at 124 degrees. I'm going to let that meat rise another 26 degrees to 150 before I move on to my next step here, and I'll bring you back. Alright, so the temperature has reached 150 degrees Fahrenheit in the meat, and since I set the temperature down to that P5 or P50, 225 degrees Fahrenheit, now that it's set to 225 degrees Fahrenheit, the rate of change in the temperature has been a lot more reasonable. It's been about 3.5 hours total cooking time so far, about 2.5 at that 225 cooking temperature or P5. So going to pause, and I'm going to get it open here, get it off, and get the extender ring out of the way. And now I'm just going to, now you see that fat is nice and gooey looking. That fat's rendering, that's what I was looking for. So I'm going to get my gloves on here. Okay, got my gloves on. Now I'm just going to flip it over so that I get some little searing and char on the meat side of the brisket too. I didn't want to do that the whole cook. I wanted that fat to take most of that heat and that fat to get rendered down some. So now I flip it over. I've got it flipped, got it in there. And so now I'm going to start it up to continue cooking. Okay, you see the meat temperature starting to change a bit since I've had it open while getting the gloves off and such. So now I'm putting that lid back on, still at that P50 or P5, 225 degrees Fahrenheit. Start it up again. Gonna let it continue cooking until the meat temperature reaches 165 degrees. That'll be a critical point when it reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit, the meat temperature. I'm gonna be doing some more things with it then, so stay tuned. Okay, so the temperature is really 166 degrees now, so gonna go ahead and hit the pause and get this lid off. Also gonna get this extender ring off of there. Alright, this is where it gets interesting. Gonna do a little trick called the Texas Cheat or Texas Crunch. Just helps tenderize the meat some. So I'm gonna take some foil. I'm gonna lift this brisket up and get it in the foil. I'm gonna set my foil here in the NuWave. Just kind of tilt my foil up so that it can hold fluid. And I've got basically a half a batch of that injection mixture that I made. Got about half of that made again in this little container here. Just gonna pour that all over the brisket. Get it doused in that. Now I'm going to close up that foil so that foil stays wrapped. This is going to kind of help steam the brisket a little. Help tenderize that meat real good the rest of the cook. You see the top of the meat was already really well cooked. You know, got some char on top like I want it. That really helps bring out some good flavor. I'm just going to take one more piece of foil just to get it covered over the top real good. Got my brisket well packed in there. Put my extender ring back on. Alright, getting that lid back on. This is about 4 hours, 45 minutes into the cook, almost 5 hours in. Still cooking at that 225 degrees or P5, P50, whichever your NuWave oven has for that setting. So I'm going to just hit start, continue the cook, and basically going to keep it like this until it reaches 195 degrees. At 195 degrees, that'll be our stopping point. And then we'll do some poke testing, make sure that meat's real tender, and then move on to our taste testing and such. So stay tuned. Okay, so this brisket's been cooking for about 8 hours straight now, and it's been hanging at this between 186, 185 degree mark for almost an hour. I'm gonna hit pause here just so you can hear me more clearly. But basically it's been hanging around this 185, 186 degree mark for about an hour now. And it's been going for 8 hours, so basically this is known as the stall. If you're one who's been cooking a lot of brisket, you're familiar with it. But it's hit this stall and it's just been sitting there. Since I've already got it in that Texas cheek, Texas crutch, you can crank the heat up further at this point and get away with it and let it go to 195 and be done good. It's been going for 8 hours now, so it's been cooking for a good while. Had a nice long cook. It's only a 5-pound brisket, so doesn't need to go, you know, 12, 20 hours or anything. Even though I've done, on my D-Grill channel, I've done some briskets, you know, going like 18 hours strong and whatnot like that. But for this, we're gonna just do a cook time, and I'm just, even though it's not gonna take 9 hours, just put 9 in. Gonna put the power level back at that P6 or P60 or 250 degrees. So going up from 225 to 250 again. And gonna just hit start. Let it cook at that higher temperature till it reaches the 195 degree mark, and then we'll do some of the finishing touches on this beef brisket in the NuWave oven. Okay, so this has been going for 12 hours strong now. Basically, as it got up to the 190s, it's slowed down a little bit. It's teetering between 194, 193 temperature, just a degree or two away from that 195 target. And so, you know, with brisket, I don't try and rush it too much. You know, I did change the power level up to 6, but I don't try and push it too much. But it's getting real close, and just to get it over the hump, I'm just going to do a little something here. I'm just going to pause, and I'm going to take the dome off, and I'm going to remove the extender ring. Just put that regular dome on there. It's still cooking at the 250 degrees P60 or P6, and just gonna continue to cook from there. Now it's getting a slightly more direct heat. It's still wrapped in that foil, and I'll bring you back once it hits 195. Okay, just minutes later, it took about 9 minutes, and bam, 195. So I'm gonna just stop that. Well, make sure I stop that so that we don't have any more of that beeping going on. I'm going to stop the NuWave oven so we don't have its fan going on anymore. So it took about 12 hours total. Did some playing around with things here and there to get us to our goal, but we've reached it. I'm just going to open it up in here. It's all done. If this was a full packer with the point in the flat, I might put it in a cooler for a while and let it sit in a warm cooler for a couple of hours. But since this is just a flat, I'm just going to pour another half a batch of my injection mixture over it. I'm just going to close it up. I'm not going to put the dome on. I don't want it to get that hot. I'm just going to close it up to let it set for about maybe 20 minutes or so, just to let it have a little time to reabsorb some of those juices. And I'll come back in about 20 minutes and do the cutting, plating, and taste testing. All right, gonna get the brisket out of the NuWave oven. It's very, very tender. Getting that meat curled out. All right, it's hot. All right, so I'm gonna just take and cut a slice. Then just turn it this way for my ease of cutting. Just cut a slice right here. Oh man, that cut real nice. That looks real good. You see that well done in there? I'm just gonna plate a piece of it. Just gonna cut this slice here. Looks like I even see a line of possible in the injection in there. Get that on the plate here. I'm just gonna, well, let me just kind of show you. You know, it's kind of, this is a thick slice, but it's, you know, hanging nice there. Just gonna cut a couple slices there. And it's cutting real tender. It's like breakaway meat almost. So I'm gonna just get the camera turned around and then do taste testing of this beef brisket from the NuWave oven. All right, so our well done beef brisket. Gonna just do a taste test here. Get a closer look at a piece. Tender, it's tender, moist, and I taste the little of that smoked salt in there. Gives a nice touch to it. So, you know, if you want to do yourself a beef brisket indoors, this is the way to do it. The NuWave oven is the way to do it. And so you got this and many other recipes over at superwaveovenrecipes.com. I'm on Twitter at Wave Oven Recipes. The Amazon shop is amazon.com/shop/waveovenrecipes. Also, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, leave your comments, tell me what you think, subscribe to the channel, and good eating.